Hi, this is conservative filmmaker John Ziegler with a commentary on what's going on today in politics and media. And I want to talk today about Herman Cain, who has taken the Republican presidential primary process by storm, now nearly tying Mitt Romney atop the national polls and winning all sorts of straw polls and even some state polls. Here's the situation now that Chris Christie has said, no, 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 really, I'm not running. Really? And Sarah Palin has said, oh, never mind. I really was just kidding around for the last 6 months. And Michelle Bachmann's campaign has imploded, and Rick Perry's appears to be doing the same. Herman Cain is really, I guess, the last chance for conservatives to get a date to the prom that they're really excited about. Because clearly, Mitt Romney's not the guy that's going to excite the conservative base, even though he's probably the guy that you ought to take to the prom because he's the one that has the best chance of beating Barack Obama. Now, I like Herman Cain. I mean, who couldn't, what conservative doesn't like Herman Cain? The guy is charismatic. He's got a great personal story. He tells it like it is. He's not afraid of political correctness. And I would pay money, cash money, to see him debate Barack Obama. There's no doubt about that. However, as much as that would be enjoyable, as much as that might do long-term benefit to the movement in the eyes of many, the reality is it would also result in the re-election of Barack Obama. And there is no doubt about that. Now, I know a lot of people refuse to believe that truth, but it is still the truth. And it's important for conservatives to understand why that's the truth and why what they're hearing from their own conservative media is not necessarily to be trusted, especially on this particular issue. I'll get to that in just a moment, but let's address Cain specifically and a potential Cain-Obama matchup. While a lot of people claim that Herman Cain would be dangerous to Obama because he would cut into the black vote, this is simply not the case, or at least there's no evidence for it. Here's the deal. I've heard some estimates that Cain might win 20 to 30% of the black vote. I don't know where they're getting these numbers. The reality is that Herman Cain would get utterly destroyed by the news media because of the fact that he would be such a threat to their narrative and to the Democratic base and to the Democratic presidential prospects for a generation to come because of the racial gap on which the Democratic Party has so relied. If you thought Sarah Palin got a rough ride, which she did from the news media in 2008, what they would do to Herman Cain would make what they did to Sarah Palin look like a friendly family picnic. It would get ugly because while Palin merely threatened the gender gap, Cain would threaten the racial gap, as well as an entire series of biases and incorrect narratives that have been written by the media about how racist Republicans are. So they would absolutely destroy him. And I don't think he would get 20 to 30% of the black vote. In fact, I think it may end up being a situation where the black population would feel even more obligated to vote for Barack Obama because they would be brainwashed into believing that somehow it would be a cop-out or an Uncle Tom situation, even though it would be bass-ackwards to look at it that way, to vote for Herman Cain. But just for the sake of argument, just to placate my conservative critics, let's pretend Cain got 20 to 30% of the black vote. It still wouldn't make any difference to help his electoral prospects, and here's why. Does anybody believe that a Cain-Obama matchup wouldn't dramatically increase black turnout over what it would have been without Herman Cain as the Republican nominee? I mean, the reality is you'd probably get damn close to 100% turnout from black voters nationwide. And in some precincts in St. Louis and Philadelphia that I can think of, it'd probably be well over 100% turnout in black precincts. The reality is that when you increase the pie of black voters voting, then your percentage increase doesn't do anything to mitigate the overall disparity in the votes that Republicans would get in comparison to what Democrats would get from the black population. So in the end, at best, it would be a wash. And the reality is that Herman Cain does not have the kind of armor to protect himself against the inevitable media onslaught that I've already described. He has no political or governmental experience. He fully acknowledges that he knows nothing about foreign policy. He even jokes about knowing nothing about foreign policy, has even said that Barack Obama would be somebody he would not be prepared to debate on the issue of foreign policy. He's said already that he would ban Muslims from being part of his cabinet. And even though this is not an issue that most people are thinking about, the reality is you cannot, especially as an unexperienced Republican, say you're going to ban an entire group of people from working in your cabinet simply because of their religion and expect to not be labeled as a nut job by a news media that is dead set on destroying you. You just can't do it. And he is so charismatic, so unwilling to kowtow to political correctness, so outspoken that he will give the media numerous opportunities to make him look bad, make him look stupid, make him look crazy. And of course, Obama's minions are going to take advantage of this. So the reality is that no matter how bad the economy gets, the American people are not going to fire Barack Obama, who they still personally like, and replace him with someone with no experience whatsoever, who they're convinced is a bit nutty. And as much as I love Herman Cain, there's no question that they're going to be able to create that perception. Now, that being said, Cain actually has a damn good chance, or at least a reasonable chance, of being the nominee. And here's why. There are a lot of people who have a financial incentive for Herman Cain to either win the nomination or at least come close. Specifically, the very conservative media outlets who will be informing most of the Republican base about that race. Think about their self-interest. The conservative media has a profound financial self-interest for Barack Obama to be re-elected. I know that shocks a lot of people, but if you think about it, you'll see that I'm right. About the only portion of the economy that Obama has been good for has been conservative media outlets. Fox News, The Drudge Report, talk radio, conservative blogs. The dirty little secret of ideological media is nobody wants their guy in charge because it's bad for business. And in the short run, Herman Cain is great for business, for all media outlets, because they were already getting bored of the Perry-Romney matchup. They wanted something more interesting, more spicy. Well, now they got it. They got a fantastic character in this reality show that has become the nominating process that'll really spice things up. And a Cain-Obama general election would be a huge ratings winner. Way better than Obama-Romney or Obama-Perry. It would be massive. He would essentially be this year's version, the 2012 version of Sarah Palin, which was a financial boon to media outlets of all different shapes and sizes and ideological bents. But what makes me most concerned about the conservative media is, one, they're going to have a huge influence on how Herman Cain is perceived. They'll be able to convince a lot of people he can actually win when he cannot. And they have a huge financial interest for him to remain in the race, win the nomination, because they know not only will he create interest, but that he cannot possibly beat Obama. So they get the best of all worlds. They get rid of this Perry-Romney matchup, which they don't like. They can get him the nomination. They give him a fantastic general election matchup from a ratings perspective. And they also know no matter how hard they push for him, and they can push for a real, true conservative and stick to their principles, all while knowing they're actually taking a dive for Barack Obama because they have pinpointed and allowed the candidate with the worst chance of beating him to get the nomination. So do not believe what you hear from the conservative media. Do not believe specifically what you see on the Drudge Report, which seems to indicate that Herman Cain is now the front runner and has a great chance of beating Barack Obama. He doesn't. The conservative media is the last element to be trusted here because they have a financial interest in Cain contending, winning, and then losing to Obama. Do not forget that. As much as you might not like it, Mitt Romney right now is by far the candidate with the best chance to beat Barack Obama. And that's the truth. Until next time, thanks so much for watching. And if you like this video, make sure you share it with your friends.